Two masked gunmen armed with AK-47 assault rifles, a shotgun and an M80 soldier stormed Charlie Hebdo's Paris headquarters.
Can a deal over a ceasefire on Ukraine crisis?
Also on BBC Three News, can inflation in the UK turn negative after all says PM Carney?
Tonight on BBC Three News, two masked gunmen armed with AK-47 assault rifles, a shotgun and M80 soldier stormed Charlie Hebdo's Paris headquarters.
They opened fire with automatic weapons while shouting Allahu Akbar. They shot and killed 12 people and wounded 11 others. Two of those killed were police officers.
France today faced a shock, which is this is an assassination terrorist operation.
A few hours ago, my colleague went to speak with teachers at Christ the King St. Mary's. Here's the report.
So what's your take on the Paris attack? Anyone think it's right that they killed them because they mocked their prophet, Muhammad?
Mocked him, but they haven't used violence. So for them to come back and use violence is obviously a bit more than it should have been.
So do you think it's morally right to kill someone just because they mocked a prophet?
I'm on the other side. I'm saying that they shouldn't have killed them because they've only used words.
Okay. So do you think it's acceptable to mock someone, to mock a prophet? Do you think?
I don't think it's acceptable. They can be used other ways instead of violence.
Yeah, I agree.
So the news major news channels, like they didn't program this, they didn't show this, they didn't show the how they mocked the prophet of Muhammad. So do you think they don't want to show it just because they're scared of retaliation from the Muslim people?
Yeah, I do think that's the case because if they did show the part where they were getting mocked, that would have provoked a lot of other Muslims to get involved.
It would be illegal for us to show that on the news here in our country, so they did.
Oh, fair enough. So anyone else? What's your take on the Paris attack?
I think it's a bit unfortunate that it's happened because it puts the whole religion in shame and it causes stereotypes and stuff like that.
So does that mean? So do you think freedom of speech or expression is always justified?
It's not always justified, but to a certain extent.
Okay. So do you think the act of terrorism could be stopped, and how? Because this was clearly an act of terrorism.
I don't think it can be stopped because there's always going to be some crazy people in the world.
So do you think that these Muslims they're doing it? Do you think they represent Islam?
No.
But they're doing it in the name of Allah. Would you? So you don't think they?
Just because they say it doesn't mean it's actually right.
Okay.
A Christian can kill someone and it won't be portrayed in the same way. If he says he's doing it for Jesus, people say he's crazy. But as soon as it's a Muslim, it's a terrorist attack.
Yeah, but is it not because every time there's a terrorist attack, it's always Muslim people that do it? Is it? Don't you think it's because of that?
It's not all the time.
Okay. Anyone else? Anything to say? Also, how can people speak about a religion without the fear of insulting that group of people?
You can't really do that because anything that someone says, it may offend a specific person, even though as a whole it may not offend that person in the religion. Someone always is going to say, oh no, I don't like that, so that's offensive. So really, we can say that, oh, we don't want to offend you, but we're always going to offend someone.
But so if they decide not to do it, so that means it's fair. If they decide not to talk about Muhammad.
No, it's respect for other people's religion. I just think it's really disrespectful, and that all the time everyone has to say, oh, it's people that are Muslim that are terrorists, but it's not. Like, I just think everyone just assumes that it is, and it just puts a religion in a bad name, and everyone's like, oh no, I don't like Muslim people. But it's just those certain individuals that make people think like that, and I don't like it.
So what can the Muslim do to make sure that they don't group people don't group Islam with these terrorist people, because they clearly do it in the name of Allah?
They can't really do it. Like, I see people, Muslim people that are nice and everything, and like you're just like, oh, they're really nice people, but then on the TV they always portray them as mean, so people can't exactly say, oh no, I like them, because there's so many. No, there's not even so many people. They're just individuals that people say that the Muslim people as a whole are like that.
So you're saying media is to blame?
Basically, yeah.
Alright. Anyway, thank you, class, for this, yeah? Thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
Good morning. I'm here at Christ the King St. Mary's with Mr. Hurst, media teacher. Good morning, Mr. Hurst.
Good morning.
What is your take on what's happening in Paris?
Well, first of all, I think it's incredibly sad, just completely unneeded. But I think it kind of reiterates the confusion of the world in which we live in today. It's a very confusing place. No one really knows sort of what to take from it, or there's been no kind of real insight into why it happened or why these guys did this. It was just seen as something that was traditionally to do with Islam. As well as that, I think what's interesting is definitely how people responded to it, how the media responded to it, and how world leaders responded to it. I found that incredibly just strange in a way. I don't really know what to take on it really, but it's just incredibly sad that so many people have to lose their lives.
Well, the incident was caused, well, from what they're saying, is from freedom of speech, the whole pinpointing about the magazine artists drawing their prophet in a way that they found disrespectful. Yeah. So do you think that the Paris attack was an act against freedom of speech?
Well, I don't think it's really an act. I mean, because there are so many acts, so many things that people do in the world that could be seen as an act against freedom of speech. I think what they were doing was a religious act trying to follow a very extreme form of Islam. I don't think that part of their beliefs is to stop freedom of speech. I think what they were doing was something that they saw as kind of an attack on their religion and their religious beliefs. Not necessarily anything to do with freedom of speech, though.
So would you say that the freedom of speech is justified?
Would I say what all
in general?
It depends what you mean by freedom of speech. I mean, there's been a lot of talk about freedom of speech in the press recently. Is freedom of speech always justified? I could say my opinion is that I totally agree with what these guys did in Paris. I believe that they should have shot every one of those cartoonists. That could be my opinion, and it could be my expression of freedom of speech. But we all know that that's not acceptable. I can't openly say that I would like to slap my students in the face. That could be seen as freedom of speech, but it's something that I quite clearly lose my job for. So, do I think freedom of speech is always justified? No. I think you need to look at it as, how many people does it offend? Does it have any meaning? If it's someone discussing something that's beneficial to all of us, then yes. But if it's something that's highly offensive to other people, I think we need to tread a little bit more carefully.
So, talking about the level of offensiveness, do you think the cartoonist was in the wrong, or was it an honest act of his way of having his freedom of speech?
I mean, that's where it becomes so difficult. Do I believe that people should be allowed to freely draw pictures of the Prophet Muhammad? In my mind, I'm not a Muslim, so I feel no way about it. It bears no brunt on me. I don't really care whether people draw pictures of Muhammad or not. But I can totally sympathise with people who hold it within their religious beliefs that you shouldn't draw pictures of the Prophet Muhammad. So yeah, I mean, it depends on the person. That's what makes it so confusing.
So how would you say people are allowed to speak about religion without the fear of actually insulting these group of people?
What do you mean? Do I believe that people should be able to talk about, discuss religion?
In instance, the cartoonist, the magazine cartoonist,
Yeah.
you could see it was his kind of way of kind of speaking about his points of views upon the Muslim religion.
Yeah.
So how would you go about speaking about a religion without the fear of actually insulting a member like that?
Well, I mean, just going back to what I was saying earlier, what is the benefit of drawing a picture of the Prophet Muhammad? How do we benefit? I mean, I can see that there's a comedy aspect to it, and all kind of comedy or arts in general needs to be a kind of comment on society as a whole. And obviously that's in the forefront of society, drawing pictures of Muhammad. So I can see by them doing it, it is a comment on society and the way we're living at the moment. But of what benefit is it? I mean, are people actually going to be uplifted by seeing a picture of the Prophet of Muhammad, for example? I just don't see how it benefits us. So I think, yeah, you do need to be really careful when kind of questioning someone's religious belief. As long as it's like your statements about their religious belief is justified, then yeah, I don't see any kind of problem with it.
So kind of linking this back into the Paris attack, do you think it was morally right to kill someone just because they've mocked their religion?
Oh, no, of course not. Of course not. No. I think it's insane. There's my freedom of speech. I think what they did is an insane act. I don't think it should have happened.
The Islamification of Europe, do you think it could ever happen?
My personal belief, what do I believe that we could be living in this country under Sharia law? Is that what you're saying?
In a way, yes.
No, I don't. I think that's a complete, it's complete propaganda by our government and by elitists in this country to kind of draw away our anger as a society from other things that we should probably be more interested in, like who owns our public health system, who owns our schools. Everyone's so scared about Islam at the moment rather than questioning what, your own freedom of speech and your own freedom of liberty as a citizen. That's what's so kind of silly about this whole thing, is that people are talking about, oh, it's my freedom of speech, it's my rights, but yet they don't realise, and they're not getting wound up by their kind of rights and their freedom as a citizen of this country that are gradually being taken away from it. That is what should be at the front of kind of every newsstand in this country, but it's not, because the media has another agenda, or mainstream media anyway.
So do you think the act in Paris and previous other attacks across the world have a deeper meaning to them, or is it just a sudden act of revenge at the cause?
I mean, my personal view on fundamental Islam is that it's insane, and that's all it is. But the thing you need to look at is the actual effect on my life. I mean, obviously, we've got ISIS are getting bigger, but they're not as. If you kind of judge the media by how much, or judge stories by how much the media talk about it, you'd think that ISIS were across the road in Queen Mary's Hospital. Do you know what I mean? Where the fact of the matter is, it's probably 10,000, 15,000 people in a country in the Middle East. Their bearing on my life bears, it's tiny, it's minute, it's pretty much non-existent. But the media are constantly just going, Islam, bad.
So you're saying the media blows the actual.
Oh, of course, yeah, most definitely, yeah.
So how are your
sensationalism
views on Muslims in general?
On Muslims. My view on Muslims is that it's a religion like any other. There's so many similarities between Christianity, Islam, Hinduism, but the kind of general narrative is to pull away all of the negative sides of Islam. So you talk about that there are some quite sort of violent things said in the Quran. But then if you compare that to the Bible, there are violent things said in the Bible, but we don't take them literally, So it completely depends on how you look at it. But do I see religion as Islam as a bad thing? No way. It's a religion like any other.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hurst.
Thank you very much.
Nice speaking to you.
Take care.
Back to you.
Of the Prophet Muhammad. Shortly after this morning's attack, the French president came to issue a message of defiance on behalf of his nation.
This is an act of an exceptional barbarism that has just happened here in Paris against a newspaper. A newspaper means free speech against journalists who have always endeavored to show that in France you can operate to defend their ideas.
The gunmen escaped in a stolen car. They're now being pursued by the police across Paris. John Brain, BBC News.
Welcome back to the studio. We're here with 4 selected students that we just had a word with in the classroom.
We're going to ask you a few questions about what has taken place in Paris. So welcome, Mary. We've got a few questions to ask you. So what's your take on what has happened recently in Paris?
Well, like, I know that there's the Charlie Hebdo magazine, and that they took mockery out of the Prophet Muhammad, and then the Muslim people, they went in and they shot thing. I don't think that's right, because the Charlie Hebdo magazine, they didn't really do anything violent or anything, so I don't think they should have reacted with violence as well. So they just made a bad name for the rest of the Islamic followers, and I don't think that's right, that they made such a stereotype of people who didn't really do anything that wrong.
What's your take on it?
I don't think that the publishers, they should have published what they drew, because if it was any other religion, they wouldn't have been allowed to publish what they published. Like, if it was based on Judaism, that would have been seen as anti-Semitic, and they wouldn't have been allowed to publish that. But because it was an Islamic thing, they shouldn't have been allowed, well, I don't think so, to publish something that mocked people's faith.
Alright, but going back to both your points, you're saying that the editor, the publishers were in the wrong. Obviously, they're saying it was his way of seeing how the Prophet Muhammad was to him, relating back to the whole freedom of speech. So do you think freedom of speech is justified in this instance?
I do think they're allowed to say what they want to the extent to like people they know, but to like publish it on like a major scale, they know that they were making a mockery of what people believe in. So they knew what was going to happen, but they knew there was going to be some sort of retaliation to what they did.
I think, they know that like generally people know that Islamic people don't really give an image for their God, like for Allah. Yeah. So I think they should have sort of, it's general knowledge that they know that not to give an image to something like that. So I don't think they should have drawn it anyway.
Mm-hmm. So we're here with Lecky, a Christian. So on a Christian standpoint, what's your take on it?
On Charlie Hebdo?
Yeah.
I feel that both parties are wrong in what they've done. Like, for example, the magazine that published it, I believe it's wrong. There's no need to mock other people. Like, they should know that there was going to be some sort of retaliation. Even if they don't agree with what another religion teaches, doesn't mean you should mock it. It's just focus on your own one rather than mock another. However, I don't see the need in such a violent retaliation to innocent people. So yeah, therefore I think both parties are wrong.
So Hobishan, you recently been to Paris. What is it like going back to such a place where an incident's happened like that?
Like, so when you walk around the streets, you just get so paranoid. You just know that something happened in Paris because of this, and you're just scared it can happen anytime.
Well, obviously, you knowing what's happened, do you think it's morally right to kill someone?
No, I just think it's wrong. Like, even if they did mock your religion, it is a wrong thing to mock a religion, but to like kill someone, take their life, I think it's just wrong.
Okay. Lecky, so do you think a Christian would kill someone if they insulted Jesus?
Personally, I don't think so. I don't see it any way in which that can be justified for taking another man's life. Because we have to love our neighbours as ourselves. By doing that, it's not showing love, regardless. So we have to turn the other cheek and overlook that.
But surely that's a painful experience for someone mocking your someone you look up to. Like, don't you think? Would you just forgive them? Would you forgive them? Like, is that what a Christian would teach?
Yeah. Forgiveness is key, because if I can't forgive someone else, then how can I be forgiving myself? So yeah, that's the key. That's key.
Going back to Eugene, seeing as this has been targeted by the media about Muslims being so extreme in what they do and about the situation, how would you feel knowing that not all Muslims are that way? How would you feel like, that your religion, your culture, your background is portrayed in that way, and such that a lot of people are now seeing you in a negative way rather than as who you really are?
To me, I don't really see them as Muslims because they don't believe in what majority of Muslims believe in. Like, one of the things that is against our religion is killing someone or killing yourself, like committing suicide, because we believe that if you commit suicide, then you go like straight to hell. So a lot of these extremists, after committing homicide, they also kill themselves. Yeah, I just think it's the way that the media portrays them. That like, if they have a beard or if they say Allahu Akbar or stuff like that, then they're automatically like Muslim terrorists or Muslim extremists, and then it's like put on the news like 24/7 for like the next couple of weeks. Whereas like, if it was any other religion, or if it was someone who's atheist, they're not really given that same amount of attention. Like, I think a couple of weeks ago, a Christian man killed 3 Muslim people in America, and they were like, they're just normal students. They were a young couple and their wife's sister, and the guy that killed them was Christian, but obviously it wasn't given the same amount of attention as the Paris attack.
So would you blame it on media?
I blame it on media on how Muslims are portrayed down. Yeah.
Okay. So going back to how media, in fact, what can Muslims do to distinguish themselves from these people that claim to be Muslim?
To me, the only thing that we can do is just like teach other people about our religion and how what we believe in is not what they believe in. Like, Islam itself, the word means peace. That is the literal definition of Islam. So it's not really like something that I agree with what these people do.
So, Mary, there's obviously different interpretation of what jihad means. There's there's one that means you're having an inner conflict with yourself, and there's another one which is outer conflict. That's what these extremists are doing. But they say that it's just bad interpretation. But how can an interpretation be so far off? Do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
So do you not think maybe the Quran does teach that?
Well, I know there's like 4 different types of Muslim people.
Like Sunnis.
Yeah, but I don't really know what the extremists would call themselves, like what other Muslim people might call the extremists, but
Okay.
Well, here's a general question, sorry, to end it and to summarise it. Talking about freedom of speech, talking about the attack on Paris, how can terrorists in general be stopped? How can people talk about a religion in such a manner where they still have their freedom of speech justified, and how they can stop terrorists?
30 seconds. Thank you.
I think it's very difficult to get your own view across without causing some sort of conflict, because everyone has different views on different religions. But I feel like people should just focus on their own and not mock others, firstly. But I think it's a very, very difficult thing to do.
I think that they should just stop, like, I think they should know that they're not real Muslims. They're just trying to, like, use that as an excuse to kill people. I think the media should just know that.
I think both parties should know like where the limit is, like where the boundaries lie with things like this. So
I think freedom of speech is really important, but at the same time you need to be like respectful and not take that as freedom to insult.
All right, thank you for coming. Now we're moving on to